Have you just started learning your first set of guitar chords, but you've run into a barrier trying to learn your first dreaded bar chord? I remember all the frustration that came when I just started playing, trying to play that first F major bar chord. Ah! My hand would get cramped or fatigued, and I just couldn't get a nice clean sound. So today I'd like to show you 3 of my favorite tips to break that barrier so that you can finally play that dreaded bar chord and make it a little bit more enjoyable. Welcome to the channel. My name is David Chiriboga. On this channel I provide weekly Spanish guitar lessons, performance clips, and tips for the beginning guitarist. Alright, so first off, before we even get into the 3 tips, I want to make sure you have good form. Whether you're playing bar chords or regular chords, I want to make sure that you're playing with the tips of your fingers and nice arched fingers. So for example, you'll see that if I'm playing an A minor, you can tell how arched and curved my fingers are and how I'm playing with the points of my finger. Alright, so now if we look at the back of the guitar, you'll see that my thumb is supporting my hand by being right behind the index and middle finger. You definitely don't want to see the thumb creeping up over the neck or just relaxing on top of the neck. A lot of my beginner guitar players find this position very comfortable, and honestly it is comfortable for certain chords. Playing an A minor in this position or a D minor might feel okay because it's on the lower treble strings. But once you get into bar chords or more chords that are dominantly on the bass strings or stretched out chords, it's definitely going to feel uncomfortable and it's going to hinder your performance and you just won't be able to play those chords. Alright, tip number 1. You want to start off with the index finger, just your barring finger, and experiment with that. You want to make sure it's not flat onto the guitar. You want to make sure it's a little bit on the side, a little curved, and you want to make sure it's also as close to the fret as possible. Being close to the fret is going to ensure you get the cleanest sound. Now by starting off with just the index finger, it allows you to focus on the hardest part, the barring. So once you get this down, you're 50% there. Alright, tip number 2. One mistake that beginners make is that they think about barring or playing chords in general like clamping with a lot of pressure. Now while that's partially correct, you do want to think about it like you're grabbing or clamping. You don't want to think about it like you're putting in a ton of pressure, because that's just going to fatigue your hand, you won't last through songs, and in the long run you could even run into injury. So one of the ways that I like to get more pressure and strength into the chord without using the muscles in the hand is by using the arm. So think about it like somebody's pulling your elbow back and thus pulling the guitar neck back a little bit. Now keep in mind that this is really subtle. You're not pulling this back really hard. It's just a little tool to give you an extra little 20% power without having to use as much hand muscle, which is the goal, so that your hand doesn't get fatigued. So by doing this, you'll be able to clamp a little less hard. So one more suggestion that I could add on to this tip on the topic of pressure is that if you're playing a bar chord, a minor bar chord like this position, and you have your middle finger and your left hand free, you could use that middle finger to lightly support your index finger and lay off the pressure of the first finger. Thus, you have 2 fingers doing the bar work. Even after years of playing, I find that this little tip helps me out up to today, because in the end, you want to avoid any type of extra pressure or extra muscle work so that we could have the longest stamina while we're playing, and so we could avoid any type of injury. Alright, tip number 3. Another mistake that I see a lot of students making, and even some teachers teaching, is to learn your first bar chord just in the first position. Now by first position, that just means learning something based off of the first fret. Thus, most people learn the F chord as their first bar chord. The problem with learning your first bar chord in the first position is that the frets are more separated at the beginning of the neck. So as you go down the neck, the frets start condensing a little bit more. Now that's why I like to show beginners how to play their first F position bar chord on the 5th or 7th fret, because the frets are a little tighter around there, you don't have to stretch as much, and also the tension feels a little bit easier with the strings. It's already difficult to play a bar chord as a beginner, so why make it even harder by starting on the 1st fret? I really hope these tips take away some of the frustration of playing your first dreaded bar chords. If one of these tips or all of them helped you, please leave me a comment. I'd love to know which one helped you or which one didn't help you. And if you've made it this far into the video, please consider subscribing for more weekly tips like these.